fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
F. You're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week. 30 years in the making. The 30-something movie podcast. 30 years in the making. Bringing you the best movies of 91 this year. Well, not all of them are the best. I mean, some of them are. We got a few here and there that are small duds, maybe. But we have fun We have fun talking about them.
Yeah. What are the clinkers we've had so far?
Let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to think about for this year. What have they been?
Yeah. 91.
We weren't huge fans of Career Opportunities.
Yeah, but we kind of were.
Well, I mean,
it had its redeeming qualities.
Oh God, this is going to be another one we're going to bust up for 10 minutes.
It had two redeeming qualities.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was that one.
But yes, as the film paper would say, not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
We weren't as big of fans, and I know that some are Patreon folks. I know Padraig in Ireland. I hope he's doing well, by the way. But I know he liked the one with Michael J. Fox where he was like the
Hard Way
movie, The Hard Way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we run roughshod on that, or were we just not fans?
I think we said that it had some good qualities. I know that I said I'm just not a huge fan of James Woods.
Right. I remember that.
That's probably my biggest issue with that movie. Otherwise, the rest of it I think was it was kind of a fun movie.
Well, yeah.
Not one I necessarily revisit, but
Michael J. Fox is just, I mean, me, like I love watching that guy in action.
Yeah. We weren't, I know that you weren't a big fan of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of it either.
Right. Jeff says we got too serious with that one.
Really?
I was talking to Jeff. Jeff, if I've got it right.
Okay.
If I've got it right, Jeff, call the love line or text or let us know next time you're on, whatever. But I think he's like, wow. Or not, maybe not that we took it too seriously. Maybe he was like, wow, you guys really went deep dive on that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. It needs its own film school essay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably were. We probably got too serious.
Why so serious?
Why so serious? You want to know how I got these scars? It was from watching Career Opportunities. I'm not talking about that one anymore. That's going to cause problems. It's going to cause problems, and I'm not doing it.
Don't want to make waves.
Nope.
Waves.
Nope. So anyway, we've kind of started off on a little tangent here, which is, we started on a tangent.
Who, us?
We live, basically we live in the tangents.
We are the tangent.
We are the tangents.
Ooh,
I am
that's deep right there.
I am the law.
I am the law.
I can't wait to. I am the law.
I am the. My dad shoots me a text. Says, "Yeah, so I was looking for a movie the other night and I found Dredd. I thought it was Judge Dredd with Sly Stallone, but it wasn't. It was Dredd. Wow, that thing's really bloody. I think I kind of liked it though." And then I forget who's the guy, Dr. McCoy, the guy that was the head of the Rover Rim. Carl Urban.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, Carl Urban. He's like, I like Sly Stallone a lot, but man, Carl Urban, that's a pretty intense Dredd. Wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And we were talking all about it. And, we were talking about, there's benefits of each. I mean, I like Sly Stallone's and I like Carl, they're, the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, we were talking all about it. I get a text later, like the next day we were talking about it. Later that night, I get a text. Yeah, I watched it again. And then a second time again. He's like, that's just a fun movie. I'm like, all right, way to go, Dad.
I think to get that, because I used to read the Judge Dredd comics when I lived in England. And the comics they jump back and forth from being like hyper violent and then sometimes very goofy. Mm-hmm. And so I think to get the true flavor of the Judge Dredd character, I think you need to watch both of those movies back to back.
Right.
Because then you'll get it's two sides of the same character.
Yeah. So. And they're fun movies. I
love both of them.
Yeah. And Sly Stallone, I mean, his thing, I mean, he's doing his thing. It's just fun watching him do his thing with that. It's just good time. But yeah, Carl Urban. Yeah, did you announce we're a spoilers podcast? Because I want to say my favorite part of the movie.
Hold on. We're a spoilers podcast. Go ahead.
Don't tune in now because I'm going to talk about Dredd with Carl Urban. And, but the best part is when he comes walking out after that whole big, Bo, you've seen it, right?
A long time ago, yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to ruin it for Bo.
No, you won't.
Well, anyways, he comes walking out, and the judge walks up and says, "So, what happened here?" And this is after everything has just been blown to pieces and everything. And what he said, he's like, "Drug bust." And she says, "Well, it looks like you've been through it. Perps were uncooperative." I mean, that's all he says after the whole thing. I'm like, dang, that is awesome. Like, I'm like. That's how I'm going to, like, whenever there's been a day that's how I'm going to describe it. How was your school year, Pat? Okay. Taught kids.
How were the kids? Perps were uncooperative.
Perps were uncooperative. That's right. Looks like it's been a long year. Kids were uncooperative. God bless it all. Both of those movies are fun.
What happened here? 8th period band.
That's right.
Perps were uncooperative.
That's right. Uncooperative.
Now, what's funny is when I told you when you were asking, who's the guy, and it's Carl Urban. I almost said Keith Urban. That's a very different movie.
That's a different Keith Urban.
A musical. I think it could be fun.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Carl Urban.
The law. No, okay.
Carl Urban.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's just been in all sorts of good, fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He really has. He's got quite the interesting career.
Do you guys watch The Boys?
That's the superhero run amok kind of thing, right?
That's the superhero run amok thing. Super, especially season 2, super violent. Mm-hmm. Your significant others may not care for it. I know Sharon and I watched the first season, and then as the first season ended, she's like, okay, that was a thing that we watched. And then the second season came out, and I thought, well, I'll watch the first episode without her. I was like, halfway through the first episode of season 2, I was like, I will watch all of season 2 without her.
Yep.
And she will be grateful, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So anyway, our episode tonight is going to be on toy soldiers. But before we get into that, before we get into our movie that we're here for, there was something that I completely forgot to bring up when we were doing our JFK episode last time. So I wanted to bring it up because I didn't know if you gentlemen knew of this, and I meant to talk about it for a minute. When we were talking all of our JFK stuff, I had made some little notes because I did not know this, and I was discovering it for the first time. Do you know all the stuff about Woody Harrelson's dad?
I confess that I don't.
No? Okay. And apparently I was told by the Shirley podcast guys, because I was talking about this with them, and they had mentioned there's a really good podcast series. It's only available, I think the first episode's available wherever. The rest of the season of the podcast is available only on Spotify. So if you want to look for it, it's called Son of a Hitman. And apparently Woody Harrelson's dad was a hitman.
Wait, I have heard. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
This is like triggering my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Woody Harrelson's dad, actually, I'm gonna pull up my notes from our JFK episode. I
do remember a little of this.
It's crazy. Like the more I was reading into it, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. So here's the notes. I think I pulled this either from IMDb or somewhere else. Actor Woody Harrelson's father, Charles Harrelson, was a hitman convicted of murder on 3 separate occasions. On the 3rd occasion, he admitted to the murder of federal judge John H. Wood Jr. and also admitted to having played a part in the assassination of JFK. And a witness claimed he had drawn maps of the location in Dallas from which he fired his weapon. The FBI discounted his claims. However, Jim Mars claims in 1989's Crossfire that Charles Harrison is the youngest of the 3 tramps, questioned and released by police on the day of the assassination. Forensic artist Lois Gibson has conducted photographic analysis and has concluded the youngest and tallest tramp is Charles Harrison. So apparently Woody Harrelson's dad was a hitman for the mob or for somebody and like actually killed people and went to prison for killing people, including a judge. And there were implications that he was involved in, if the assassination of JFK was a plot, that he was involved and potentially fired one of the shots in the JFK assassination.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
That's crazy. Now, here's the other weird thing. And I tried to look up and see if there was a connection. Apparently there is not a connection, but I'm having a hard time believing that there's not. Is that Woody Harrelson's mom, her last name is Oswald. Like her maiden name, I believe, was Oswald.
Jeez.
I was like, whoa, hold on.
Nutty.
I'm like, hold on now. You're telling me that the dad is potentially, if there's some kind of a conspiracy, the dad is potentially implicated in the JFK assassination, assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, and you're telling me that his mother has the last name Oswald, and there's no connection there.
No, none at all. What you talking about?
Yeah. So.
Well,
anyway.
Eight more years, we'll be able to find out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
But that was crazy. So it's the podcast is called Son of a Hitman. I've added it to my list, but I have not listened to it yet. But I'm like, okay, that's going to be one of those that, his mom's name is Diane Lou Oswald. Like
that's freaking weird,
like
man.
You cannot tell me there's not some kind of a connection there. But I've tried Googling a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't seem to find anything. But I'm like, okay, that's like when people do the whole thing of, did you know that JFK's secretary's name was Lincoln, and Lincoln's secretary's last name was Kennedy, and like that whole kind of thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So anyway, I completely forgot to bring that up. And is the moment we hang up from our call on the JFK episode we did, I'm like, Woody Harrelson. Didn't even talk about him.
Yeah.
You know, which I often use that as an exclamation. Like when I stub my toe, I'm like, Woody Harrelson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but anyway. So yeah, I figured I'd bring that up. I didn't know if you gentlemen knew about that, if you were aware.
I did not. I was not aware.
Okay.
That's
all right. Wow. Well, feel free to follow that rabbit hole down the internet somewhere.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all kinds of crazy.
Yeah. Huh.
All right. Well, that is that was our JFK episode. We are here tonight for Toy Soldiers. Tonight, tomorrow, whatever day it is, whenever you're listening to this. But we're here for Toy Soldiers from 1991.
Not Small Soldiers.
Not Small Soldiers. Very different movie. Very different movie. So very, very quickly, I already mentioned before, we are a spoiler podcast, so just be warned. We are also sponsored as part of the Scene Stealers podcast network. We are sponsored by Scene Stealers International Convention Agent, who has a top-class roster of movie and TV stars ready to be booked now for your Comic-Con or event. For more information, check out www.scenestealersglobal.com. And if you are a celebrity who's listening to this while you're mowing your lawn and you want to be a part of that so that you can be booked at conventions and other events like that, I would head over to their website and you can reach out to them and become one of the they can represent you and get you into these shows. So 30podcast.com, where you can rate, leave a voicemail, and become a co-executive or producer via Patreon. We've got some great Patreon episodes that we've already come out with. We've got some other ones that are on their way. So yeah, there's going to be all kinds of great stuff there. And I'm thinking of if things ever slow down this summer at all. I'm also thinking of just throwing in some like unscheduled episodes in there as well, just as kind of a thank you for our Patreon folks. So may see some extra things coming around this summer on the Patreon feed. So
well, that deserves it. And again, just like you said, John, just a huge thank you to all those folks that support us, because that's pretty special. So
we are always appreciative of that. You know, we've said every time that we do this because we have fun with it, and so we are always inviting people to come have fun with us. And just the fact that some of you that are having fun here with us have deemed us worthy of being sent a little bit of money just to kind of help keep the lights on and everything else is we're really appreciative of that. So we're glad you're enjoying it. We hope that you continue to enjoy it and that we continue to make this show great for all of you. All right. Let's see. So I think if there's anything else that we need to talk about or anything else we need to bring up before Toy Soldiers. Oh, here, real quick, completely unrelated to this week's movie. I went to go see a movie in a movie theater.
Oh,
it was
very cool.
One of the first times. Actually, I think it was one of the first times since Bo. I think it's when we went to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
I take that back. As part of a celebration of my son's 8th grade promotion, I did take him to see A Quiet Place 2. Mm-hmm. So we did do that, but then, and this is my stress reliever that I haven't been able to take advantage of for the last 15 months. I took a day off work last week, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking a day off. I'm gonna go see a movie. And so the selection of movies that were available was not outstanding.
I've heard that.
There's a lot of mediocre. I already saw A Quiet Place 2, and it was excellent. Rest of the stuff that's out is a little either mediocre or just not something I was interested in seeing in the theater. So I did go see The Conjuring. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Mm-hmm. And it was fine. It was all right.
Oh, yeah.
So, I got to go to the movie theater. I got to have some popcorn. I was happy.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Kids were put in danger, and it's a horror movie, Pat. So
yeah, probably not my thing.
It would not be your speed. But
yeah.
But I do see that Black Widow is coming out in just a few weeks, so I am excited for that one, and we'll definitely want to go see that in the theater. So
that's very cool.
But yeah, kind of nice to be getting back to doing some of those things that we haven't been able to do in almost a year and a half.
Yeah, it seems like that stuff's going to fire up pretty quick. Personally thinking, I think that's,
yeah,
that'll be cool.
Yeah. All right. Toy Soldiers came out on the 26th of April, 1991. It was rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. Daniel Petrie Jr. directed this one. He also directed In the Army Now and Dawn Patrol. Producers were Jack E. Friedman, Patricia Herskovich, and Wayne S. Williams. Friedman also produced Body Parts and Rolling Vengeance. Herskovich did Body Parts and Deadly Blessing. Williams did Mother's Boys and Bad Boy. A lot of boys there. So, writer for this one was William P. Kennedy, who did the novel, died in 2020. Daniel Petrie Jr., the director, also did the screenplay. And then David Koepp also did the screenplay. Kennedy, Toy Soldiers is the only movie that was made of their work. And then, let's see, Koepp also did Jurassic Park and Spider-Man. Cinematography was done by Thomas Burston, who also did the two great TV series, Hell on Wheels and Snowpiercer. Really, 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 we went through Snowpiercer really fast, and then it seems like this latest season went really fast, and we really enjoy that show, so now we are really not wanting to have to wait for it to come back, but we'll be patient. It's fine. Music was done by Robert Folk, who did the music for Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, and The Never-Ending Story 2. Hot tip here, don't go, even if you really want to see, even if you're whatever I would have been 14 years old, and you really want to go see Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, don't go see that movie with your mother.
No.
Yeah. Personal experience hot tip for you here. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
It's not good.
No.
It's a not a good situation is what I'm saying.
Correct. It's not ideal. Budget for this one was $10 million. Box office was $15.1 million. Flick Metrics gives it a 60% and Cinema Score gives it an A-. starring Sean Astin, who played Billy Tepper. He was in The Goonies, Lord of the Rings, and Stranger Things. Will Wheaton was Joey Trotta. He was in Star Trek The Next Generation, The Big Bang Theory, and Stand By Me. Keith Coogan played Jonathan Snuffy Bradbury. He was in Adventures in Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Lots of babysitters. Andrew Divoff played Luis Cali. He was in Air Force One and Wishmaster. Denholm Elliott, who died in 1992, was the headmaster of the school. He was in the Indiana Jones movies and Trading Places. Lou Gossett Jr. played Dean Parker. He was in Enemy Mine and An Officer and a Gentleman. R. Lee Ermey, who died in 2018, played General Kramer. He was in Full Metal Jacket and Seven. T.E. Russell played Hank Giles. He was in Trespass and Swimming with Sharks. And George Perez played Ricardo Montoya. He was in Tin Cup and Selena. Colombian terrorist Louis Cali, played by Andrew Divoff, takes an American prep school hostage as a means of gaining his drug lord father's freedom. Privileged yet rebellious students Joey, played by Will Wheaton, Billy, played by Sean Astin, Snuffy, played by Keith Coogan, and Hank, played by T.E. Russell, find that they are better equipped to deal with the threat than the mostly ineffectual government agencies sent to rescue them. With resourceful Billy as their leader, the students struggle to defeat the terrorists and save the school.
The Regis School for Boys, where the country's best families
Hey, bring that back here!
send the world's worst students.
If you're gonna kick me out, kick me out.
They'd make 4 prep schools in 4 years. You're trying for the Guinness Book of Records?
But these boys are in for a real shock.
If you do not produce my father unharmed, I will begin executing the hostages. I'm sure by now you have discovered who their parents are.
Chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Vice Chairman of the Republican Party.
What does your father do, William?
Contractor.
According to this, he owns the 3rd largest construction company in the world.
Yeah, he's a contractor.
My boys, many of them, they have a real problem with authority.
Are you with me or not?
Of course we'll meet you.
But if you get a shot, we're gonna be PO'd.
I have the assault force in a staging area 5 minutes away.
You have seen these orange wires. These are wired to explosives.
The kid can get the other students out of the line of fire.
If any one of these wires is cut, they will explode!
This kid has been kicked out of 2 schools.
Well, 3 schools.
Yeah. No. That's a detonator.
He's got guts. He's a leader. If Billy says he can do it, I gotta believe he can.
That's the signal. All right. We're really gonna do this? You bet.
Toy soldiers.
All right, so for this one, our typical first question here, is this the first time you've seen this movie, and how does it make you feel?
No one puts Wesley Crusher in the corner.
It's true. I do have, I did say before we started recording, I do have a couple of sound bites in case we need to bring them in.
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
Okay, so let me know if you need me to use either of those for any of your comments or whatever. Just let me know, and I'll tee that up for you.
Oh man,
had you seen this before, Pat?
I had seen this before. I think I saw it the year it came out.
Okay.
I was probably, like at a buddy's, because I'm trying to think of, okay, how old would I have been? Yeah, it would have probably been like 8th grade, sleepover at a buddy's house, right when that whole movies that I got to see at home / movies that, were on the screen at the buddy's house and all that kind of stuff were kind of diverging. And, yeah, I remember one of these, we were all watching and yeah, it's the first time that was the first time I saw it. And I picked it up a couple times throughout, and it's just, I don't know if I'm sorry, John, I digressed there with my rather unfunny, no one puts Wesley in the corner nod to, was it the one word or was it the first time seeing it?
Either. Yeah.
all kerfluffed now.
That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun movie. And yeah, I saw it as a kid. So you're going to think it's fun. And then the more I watch it, it's kind of got the whole, like when you go back and watch things as a kid, it's like, yeah, okay, this is kind of cheesy. Yeah, this is kind of, no, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen either. That wouldn't happen either. Wow. Apache attack helicopters are really cool. No, that wouldn't happen. Like that kind of thing.
Somehow Pat reminiscing about watching this movie started to sound a little bit like Rain Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's a bit cheesy.
Helicopters
Apache
are cool.
helicopter.
Apache helicopters are cool.
Yeah, Judge Wapner, Apache helicopter. I'm an excellent helicopter pilot. I
have to say that I think that gun maybe would have torn that guy up a little bit more than what they showed in the movie, but that's okay.
Just a bit.
It's just a movie.
This was, I think, one of the first movies also, and I'm stepping all over your guys' responses, but was it watching Die Hard? Was it Jeff that said that was the first time he had seen a movie where you actually see bullets going into a person? Or was that one of you guys?
Oh, it was definitely not me.
Okay. I think if I remember right, that was one of the first ones where Jeff remembers seeing it and it was like R-rated. It's like, oh my gosh, like bullets are actually, you see them like, hitting skin and movie gore and all that. And I think that was this movie, right? Like I think this was one of the first where I remember seeing like, oh wow, they're showing like, that with the whole baseball bat hitting the, sack of potatoes sound effect, boop, 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 kind of thing, and all that kind of deal.
Spoiler alert, skipping ahead to the end, when they do shoot the main villain in the head.
Yeah.
I was like, there was a moment where, and this will go with some of my other comments later, but there was a moment where just before he gets shot in the head, I'm seeing like the quick shot of when the hole explodes in his head and the blood comes gushing out. And he looks like, you can tell that he's got a prosthetic on his head because he suddenly looks more like Ron Perlman and he's got kind of like the caveman forehead.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy's brow was not that pronounced earlier in the movie. You can clearly tell there's some prosthetics there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get out of the way so you guys can answer it and we could get, but I have fun watching this movie and I saw it 30 years ago when it, when it was first out.
Nice. Well, what about you? Have you seen this one before?
First time for me.
Okay.
I made the joking reference to Small Soldiers earlier. Until I turned the movie on, I thought that's what I was going to see.
Oh, no.
Because I hadn't really done much research on it. I tend to try to watch the movies, especially the ones I've never seen before. I sort of try to go in a little blind on purpose, maybe. Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Because for me, it gives me that first reaction, and then I'll do some research afterwards and look up some stuff. So yeah, I hadn't seen this one.
Admittedly, when I first made the list for this year, I thought it was Small Soldiers. And then I was like, 91's too early for that movie. This has got to be something different. And then I looked it up. I was like, yeah, no, I totally would have spent the entire time thinking this was, very different movie.
So, Bo, what was your reaction to watching this?
It took a little while for me to get into it and for it to get going. I actually had what I term a false start. I started watching it and I was like, something isn't right. I'm either not in the right headspace for this or something. And so I put it down. I went about my business for a few days and I came back to it. I'm glad I did. So I was in a much better frame of mind.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the silliness of it. Like you said, that wouldn't happen. But you're right. Helicopters are cool.
Yeah, they are.
R. Lee Ermey is fun as a general, or as whatever rank he was. Doesn't matter. It was
Louis Gossett Jr. is Louis Gossett Jr.
Right. And it's that that reverse heist movie, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of crazy stuff that doesn't really make any sense, but that's okay. A fun group of guys. I do wish, as I'm watching it, I'm like, Will Wheaton's in this movie, but he's not really in this movie.
I just wish a lot of those guys pants were more in the movie. That's right. As a kid, I remember kind of bumping on that, like, you know.
Well, you know, when you're away at boarding school, Pat.
I'm just saying, man, like I was at a sleepover when I first saw this movie, and it was just like, man, we're all sitting here watching, we're all dudes watching this movie, but I've got, you know, I've got underwear, but then I also have pants and maybe yeah.
Wesley and his crusher.
Hit it out.
Shut up, Wesley.
All right. Well, I'll get out of the way again, but I'm just curious, like, see, I have the nostalgia factor, and it'll be interesting to see as we go through, like, the different take on it based on whether you have or have not the nostalgia factor.
I did not have the nostalgia factor. I had not seen this movie at all. This was the first time watching it. So I was coming at this from the perspective of an adult, and I think I probably would have really enjoyed this movie had I seen it as a preteen or teenager. Mm-hmm. And I had fun with this movie, but the kind of fun I had with this movie was because as it started off, I was like, okay, all right. This basically is starting to feel like just with the cast, I don't know, maybe it was just Will Wheaton, but with the cast, I was like, I don't know, something is giving me like a Lean On Me kind of vibe here, but that's not what this movie is going to be. It's like Lean On Me and Die Hard. Is that what we're going for here? And then as the movie kept going, here's my one word for this, and I'm going to see, I might have a little bit of music to play here to go with my one word, but let's see what we got. No, that would be an ad, so that's not music. Okay, yes. Here's the music that goes with my one word for this. Okay, anyway, I got to stop that because I'm just going to want to listen to that all night.
Yeah, no kidding.
My one word is, I'm going to make my one word a short phrase. This is a canon film.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like if canon wasn't defunct by 1991, I would have totally seen this as being a movie that was in the canon library of films. It's just something about because the canon, we talked a lot about the canon films, you know, all the way up until, was it 87? Was one of the last, 87, 88, 89, I think might have been one of the last years, because I think that was Superman 4, The Quest for More Money. I think some of the aspects of the canon films they were able to rope actors that they shouldn't have been able to get for some of their movies. And just the acting and the action and the story and the music, and there's just so many things about this movie that just to me scream this should have been a canon film. You know, and the one in particular, I'm thinking about the music from Delta Force. There were so many times. I'll jump right in here, and this will be my major criticism of this movie. I had fun watching it. By no means is it a great movie. It was a fun movie. My one main criticism of this is the music started driving me nuts.
Too much of it?
The music was too overbearing.
Okay.
Like in the emotional moments, the music, I don't know whether it was just the mix, the sound mix, the music was too loud. And I felt like, and I think I've said this for a couple of other movies we've talked about over the years, I felt like the music was trying to force me into an emotion. And I think the music in a movie should complement the emotions that are going on screen. And I felt like in this movie that the music was trying to tell me, you should be sad now. You should be excited now. And like that's not, to me, that's not what the music in a movie, what the soundtrack of a movie is supposed to do. That it should complement the visuals I'm seeing, not try to force it down my throat. That's my one main criticism of this movie. Otherwise, I thought it was fun. Like, you know, the whole premise of this is one that on its surface should just be like a fun action movie. A lot of tension, fun action movie, but you know, kids at a boarding school, and it's got that kind of that perfect canon film or action film setup is just so happens that whoever created this school never understood the idea of the what do they call it? The designated survivor. Let's cram all of the like really powerful people's kids in one building.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Great idea. I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
The beaches are open. It's Easter.
It's Easter.
The 4th of July, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my joke fell flat.
No, that did not fall flat. Especially if you've lived through 2021 and or 2020 and no.
But no, I mean, so like the premise of this movie is great, and it's a fun premise because it's kind of like, I joke sometimes about Home Alone being Die Hard for kids. This one is actually Die Hard for kids. This one's like Die Hard for teenagers, because you've got some of those extra elements. You've got the rejects that they call themselves, and the U.S. military can't solve the problem, but they can. They're on the inside. They've kind of already got the plan figured out to switch out the explosives, the chip in the explosives. They're going through air vents. They're trying to come up with ways of sabotaging the guards so they can get their weapons. And, it really is, whether it definitely, in my mind, it definitely does not execute as well as Die Hard. But if you were looking for Die Hard for teenagers, that would be this movie.
Yeah. And your point of being a canon film-esque kind of thing, I think is well taken. It really has that feel to it. I mean, the bad guys are all bumbling. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot. Yeah. And
if you touch this, they explode.
Yeah, I know. Well, and that was the second time he doubles down on it.
Yeah.
If it was like, if you touch the wires, they explode. And then if you try to unplug the wires, it explodes or something. But the second time he says it explodes. Ah, and you just have like that, the right-hand man, the one that met his end with the Apache helicopter. Mm-hmm. Which, you're programmed to make that a cathartic moment, because that guy is just, he's just the number one jerk, right? You got all those things. I mean, the fact that Wesley Crusher runs out and gets gunned down and all that kind of thing, which,
well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I thought it was funny that they're like, I want you to be clear. This was because they're worried that then, his father, who's the crime boss, is going to retaliate against his father and so on and so forth. If you notice, he walks back inside and leaves the body with his friends all holding him and sad and everything, as well as the gun sitting right next to him. Like everyone walked away and left the gun anyone could have picked that up and continued the mayhem. So just little things like that. I mean, setting up the 50 caliber machine gun in the clock tower, and then like the police car, it's just like, we're going to drive straight in. Hey guys, get down and duck down in the back seat. And so that they open up with the 50 caliber and then it's got like the A-team, like the hood pops up and everything. Woo! And then just to really make a point, they're going to shoot it with the rocket. What was it? The anti-tank rocket? It was the Laws rocket or something. And so they shoot the thing with the rocket just to really make a point.
Just in case you were wondering.
Yeah. I gotta say, I think all three of us listened to the Greatest Generation.
Oh yeah.
Podcast. Yeah. So anybody else who's listened to that, it's a Star Trek podcast by a couple of guys who are a little embarrassed to have a Star Trek podcast. And one of the little bits they do on their show is at the end of every episode, they look for a character they call a drunk Shimoda. Mm-hmm. And the basic idea is like this, correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Chief Engineer Jim Shimoda.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Jim Shimoda. And you guys correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the premise behind that is they're trying to pick out the character who is either having the most fun in that epispisode or is just the most blindly,
kind of the most over the top. I feel like
over the top, blindly just charging into things, or just like careless or carefree, however you want to say it. I had a complete moment watching this movie where there was a particular scene in the movie and I laughed out loud, not because of the movie, but because I was like, nope, I found my drunk Shimodas.
Yeah.
It was when the special forces guys were charging into the school And there were a couple of scenes where, as the guys were trying to, they had all the face paint and they had all the black outfits on. These guys were like sliding into their positions.
Yeah.
One slid into position. One dove a little bit earlier than he should have, and it kind of landed awkwardly on the ground. And I don't even know if he was smiling when he dove, but it just was like, these are the worst special ops guys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they're almost like they're having too much fun invading this school that's been taken hostage.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, And when I was watching it now too, please correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously folks, if I'm wrong, please attach the correction letter to a $100 bill and mail to 30 podcast . Anyways, I don't believe the U.S. military can run operations on U.S. soil. So
but they could have been National Guard.
But does the National Guard have hostage rescue? Like, wouldn't it be the FBI's hostage rescue team, or wouldn't it be police SWAT? And I know I think I'm kind of missing the point of the movie, but that was kind of the stuff I started to bump on, was like, okay, I don't know if this would, I don't know if this would go down this way.
You're probably right.
Maybe this school is kind of like the Vatican. It's its own like little sovereign land.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
And even the whole school, I was kind of like, is it just kids that are the sons of elite, wealthy government, captains of industry and government officials and everything? Or is it that they're like the bad apples, right? Or is it both? And that I'm watching it this time. I guess they're trying to make a case for it's both of them, right?
Yeah. I think it's both.
Both categories.
That was another thing where there were a couple of instances in this movie where I and I was okay with it. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie for what it is, so I'm not going to take it too seriously. But there were a couple of things I was like, I kind of wish they would have done a little bit less focus here and given me more over here. Mm-hmm. And one of those things was, if this whole school is for the kids that get kicked out of other schools because they have problems with authority, I don't want any of the kids, whether it's the main characters or not, I don't know if the kids should be as compliant as they are. Like, I almost want to see more problems happening within the school. Like that adds to the tension of these kids being hostages, but the military is going to have to deal with, great. So we've got a bunch of kids who can't control themselves are also hostages. We need them to just stay calm, but the kids are not going to stay calm because, that's what they do, is they get in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm never one to advocate for a movie being longer, but I think they needed to flesh some more of that out. It's, I hate to say it like this because it was a kid getting shot, but you don't even really have a chance to know the Will Wheaton character enough to care that he got shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't go deep enough into some of the kids, and, you almost needed to, like, yeah, a kid got shot. That was sad and all that. Don't get me wrong, but like, you know what I'm saying? They don't make you.
The main characters are not.
They don't
distinct.
make you love him, for lack of a better term.
They're not distinct enough from each other. There
you go. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. It's just, I don't know.
Well, and it's also like, I was trying to wrap my head around it. Like, okay, was he in there just so you are his? Well, and I guess that had to link up to why the father that was cutting the deal with the other, like that's how that had to come down, so that, that the drug, so that the mafia boss went after the drug dealer's father in jail. Like, I mean, so I guess you had to have that in there, but you're exactly right. Like, it's very much John mentioned like the Cannon Films thing. It's very much like a very superficial action movie death where your grieving lasts the night, and then the music, like John said, the music swells and we're right back into the action, and we're still going to be hoorah at the end of the, the end of the show. There really isn't that emotional. The movie isn't intended to show you those emotional after effects of that.
Yeah.
It was sad. That feels awful, but we're going to focus on the action, and that's going to fire us up to really, do these guys in. You know what I'm saying? Just exactly to your point, they don't go as in depth with that.
Right.
Maybe, Bo, we should have this sort of like the MCU pattern of telling things with miniseries. Maybe this should be like an 8-part miniseries.
There we go.
So I have a question here too, because maybe I missed it. Did we ever actually say what the whole reason they take the school hostage is? Is that his father is being held? His father is being held in an American prison, and he wants him released. And so that's why he takes this school hostage, because he got information that all these kids of, wealthy and powerful people are here. So here's something that I think I might have missed at some point. Does he ever find out that his dad was killed in prison?
I don't think so. I think they keep it from him because they don't want him to freak out. And then by then they've taken the school and.
Okay.
I think that's
okay. Because I felt like, that was a thing where when that happened, I was like, oh man, when he finds out, it's all heck is going to break loose here. And then it got to the end of the movie and I was like, was I distracted at some point? Did he not ever find out? Because it felt like that was too important of a detail for him not to find out and not to, he already showed several times that he could be a bit of a loose cannon and that his emotions are not always in check. And I just kept thinking, oh man, the moment this guy finds out, he's going to be pushing that button and he's not going to care whether he goes up with the school or what. But then it got to the end of the movie. I was like, I don't think he ever found out his dad was dead.
I don't think so.
It was kind of one of those, as you said that, my gut reaction was, oh no, there was a scene where he found out because he was like upset.
Okay. There might've been.
Well, but then as I was thinking, I was about to say that, like, oh yeah, well, wait a minute. Did that just happen in my mind? Or did we just assume that because we saw it? And I don't.
Is it the Mandela effect?
Yeah. Like, I don't really know. I don't really know if that happened.
Okay.
I do know that they originally, and I had forgotten about this since the last time I watched it. They did go to the school specifically because the one kid that they transferred out, his dad was supposed to be a judge or something, that they were going to kind of force the judge to let the guy go.
Yes.
Or something like that. But then that's when that kid transferred out. That's why they're like, oh, well, we got these other kids, so we'll just make it like a hostage type situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had forgotten about that till I rewatched it this time. I was like, oh yeah, there was that one kid, but
yeah.
Yeah. That other point, like, yeah, that might've just happened in my mind.
Okay. All right. I was listening. Okay. So this is tangent because this is what we do. I was listening to another podcast either yesterday or today, and they were talking about, I think they were doing kind of like a little game on the Mandela effect. Mm-hmm. If people don't know what the Mandela effect, you guys know what it is?
Go through it just so, our viewers and
the belief that there could potentially be the proof for alternate universes, because some people have a belief that something happened in a completely different way than the historical evidence demonstrates. So, for example, probably the most famous one, or the reason it's named that way, is that there are swaths of people that are completely convinced that they recall news articles and news stories about Nelson Mandela dying in prison in South Africa.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's named from, but probably the more famous one is the Berenstain Bears, and how it's spelled Berenstain Bears. But everyone or a lot of people are convinced that it's always been Stein.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, whether jokingly or whether they're taking it seriously, they're like, well, then there must have been like something changed. Somebody changed reality, or somebody messed with an alternate reality, and I'm living in the wrong reality.
The Matrix.
Well, it's the Matrix, right? When you see the cat walk past you twice.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's where I was going with this tangent, and it made me think of when Pat was like, did I just imagine that in my head? The one that they did, and it shocked me because I was like, oh no, yeah, totally. The movie Moonraker.
Okay.
The girl that Jaws gets introduced to that kind of becomes his girlfriend. Question for you. Her name is Dolly. Gets introduced to him in the movie. Does she have braces?
In my head, it's yes, which probably means it's wrong.
I, honest to goodness, don't remember.
Because in my head, all I remember thinking is, ha ha ha, they're perfect for each other.
That was my exact same reaction. Was, of course she does, because she smiles at him and then he smiles at her with his metal teeth and thinking verbatim what you just said. Ha ha ha, they're perfect for each other. And apparently the correct answer is no, she doesn't have braces. And I was like,
there we go.
No. No. You eat pieces of for breakfast? No. I said, no, that's not true. So then I did a Google image search and it popped up and no, she does not have braces. And that was the moment that I was like, nope, this is an alternate reality. I've been kidnapped. Something's gone wrong. Because I was completely convinced that she did. So yeah. I don't know how that applies to the scene. And maybe there was a scene and then maybe reality shifted. Thanos snapped his fingers. I don't know.
Either that or we all kind of like, what's that?
Headcanon.
Yeah, you headcanon it. You see what you expect to see. It's how you can hide things in
observation bias.
Yeah, you know the little thing where you put the thing up and you have the people walking around the room and you say count the number of people in the room and then you're kind of count the people in the room and did you see the guy in the gorilla suit walk by? Uh-huh. And it's just, I know this sounds really random to all our viewers out there, but there's this video you can find it and it's the test of, do you see what you're expecting to see? Or do you notice the things you don't expect to see? And so many times people will just see what they expect to see.
Pat, any listener who's been with us for more than 2 episodes is not going to be bothered by anything random.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
They're gonna be totally fine with that. Speaking of headcanon, the guy getting shot in the head.
Yeah,
man, that was a pretty dramatic gunshot.
Yeah,
with the fake blood and the everything, and I was like, whoa, that's that was a choice.
Yeah. Well, you're just made like they're going to give these guys like as gruesome deaths as possible because it's got to be cathartic. It's got to be, got him.
All right. Well, is there anything else we want to say before we get into our 3 questions? Is there anything else we want to say about Toy Soldiers?
I really thought Sean Astin did a great job.
Yeah. They gave him what none of the other kids got, in my opinion. They gave him something to chew on. Like, he had things to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I get it. It was supposed to be kind of a redemption story for his character, but I feel like I called it a reverse heist movie earlier. In the theme of heist movie, maybe other people could have done some of the things he did. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, they could have spread the wealth a little bit, and that would have given us some more insight into the other boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was of the boys, he was the one, I said it earlier, the other characters, there was no distinction between them. He was the one character that was distinct from the others. And so, the rest for me just kind of blended into the background.
Yeah, Will Wheaton got shot. That made them stand out, but the character itself was me.
Yeah. And I see this movie from a kid perspective because that's where I saw it as a kid. Yeah. So I'm looking at these folks and they're just a few years older than I was at the time. So it's just like, dude, they're like it's kids standing up, taking care of business, and so I like, and I'm watching it this time. Yeah, there's plenty of cheesy parts in the movie, but like, other than them all standing around in their underwear, I really felt that like his, kind of like, don't give a hoot about what you're trying to tell me to do, chip on his shoulder, standing up to authority. His responses to Louis Gossett Jr. when he's like, knocks on the door, you have 10 seconds to hand over the mouthwash and all that. And he's just like, look, I'll get it for you. Okay. Just stop making me look like what'd he say? Stop making me look like a narc. That's what it was. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of buying it. I'm buying his performance in this. He doesn't look like he's phoning it in. He doesn't look like, It's not like he's going over the top for what this movie's supposed to be. I mean, and even the scenes where he's sitting there like upset that he lost his best friend, like the audience doesn't necessarily share in it because, like Bo said, we're not given the chance before or after to really grieve or mourn or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point I hadn't thought of. And then they just keep soldiering on too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you don't see any post-traumatic stress, that's not within the purview of the movie. But I mean, the way Sean Astin plays those scenes, like I don't find that over the top or cheesy or cringeworthy or any of that kind of stuff.
And Lou Gossett Jr. too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the relationship between the two of them is an interesting exploration of that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening there.
Yeah, he's just awesome. Like this is like an awesome role for him. Well, I mean, for me personally, like I met him as Lieutenant or Colonel Sinclair in Iron Eagle, so I'm like as an adult authority figure that deserves your respect and all that whole thing. Like he plays that to a T, I think, And
Marcus Brody, who thankfully could find his way through his own school.
Yeah, Marcus Brody was good. They were like the only real like responsible adults demonstrated in the movie, like the parent meeting,
Yeah.
What are you doing? I think why don't you go in there and just shoot these guys? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Yelling. And then it's kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, the way that the law enforcement guys are shown. Yeah. I really found that Louis Gossett Jr. and Sean Astin had strong and Marcus Brody had strong performances in it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. It is time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, 3 questions. Question number 1. Did you ever get in trouble for anything at school?
Not really. I was a weenie. Trouble at school. I was thinking about this all day, and I'm sure when I was a little kid, I did something. I got one.
Yeah.
I stayed in the media room past my lunch hour, working on some video nonsense that I thought was more important, and completely skipped an English class. I only didn't realize I was doing it. Like, it's one of those things I realized about 10 minutes into the period I'd already done it, and I was like, well, I'm already here, and but unfortunately, that's probably the worst I ever did.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much. We'll save the best for last and let you go, John. I don't really have much. I know it was a time at Scout Camp where we were right by a Hostess Wonder Bread outlet store. And so we took a little hike out just outside the camp to the Hostess Wonder Bread store. And I mean, it was an outlet. So for 50 cents, you could get 80 Twinkies. For $1, you could get, I mean, it was just like ungodly amounts of, all the Hostess Wonder Bread pastries and treats and all that kind of stuff. And I remember we stocked up on those and brought them back to the campsite. And, does that even qualify as doing something bad? We snuck out. The adults weren't quite happy.
Yeah, I mean, if you got in trouble for it.
Yeah, we sort of did.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. Don't have much. Go for it, John.
So for me, I will say as a younger kid, I did
as a Ute. You might say
as a Ute. Yeah, as a Ute. Not really like in the classroom. Now on the playground as a younger kid, on occasion I could tend to, fight with some other kids a little bit and things like that. One of my favorite stories, which I still don't know why this happened, I actually got in trouble in kindergarten because another kid bit me.
You were just asking for it.
That's actually what the principal, I vividly remember the principal telling me, well, you must have done something to get bit.
Wow, they did not like you.
No, apparently not.
Wow.
So,
wow.
But
that's rough, brother.
One of my other favorite ones, one of my other favorite ones is, and I was telling the kids about this earlier tonight, and I don't know what it was. I was always straight A, well-behaved kid. And it was like, I feel like it was like first grade. And the teacher said something and it just made me mad. Like the teacher was calling me out on something and it made me mad. And that was first grade. We were using those big fat, is that the number 1 pencils that are the really big fat ones?
I think so.
It's either that or there's some sort of weird novelty pencil, but
right.
Yeah, I think I know what you're.
Yeah, I mean, like
I know what you're getting at.
Along those lines, not the number 2 pencils, not like the standard pencils, but like the big fat ones. Apparently, I got so mad, I stared the teacher down and snapped the pencil in half.
Ooh,
yeah,
there it is.
And little Johnny not be good because little Johnny got in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You rebel, you. And thinking back, I'm like, those pencils were kind of thick. I'm kind of surprised as a first grader I could snap it.
And did you get?
You had rage.
There was rage fueling it. Yeah, it was that first grade rage.
And did you get in trouble, or did the teacher just go, "Dude, really?" and kind of laugh at you? I suppose that's a junior high teacher response, is just to laugh at you. In elementary, they can't do that.
I think first grade, I think I got in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I ended up down at the principal's office, but.
Wow.
Oh, well.
We used to play, we used to play tackle football and tackle keep away, at recess and got in a lot of trouble. They kicked us off the football field because we kept tackling and all this. And so we'd play it on the pavement and we do like tackle football on the parking lot and we get scratched up and, we had some times at recess we were, not allowed to do that. Yeah. Got yelled at.
Yeah.
Minor stuff for us.
Yeah.
Isn't there, John? You can edit this, but isn't there something about a window?
I didn't get in trouble for that, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got away with it.
I did.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
All right. Well, the year was like 1996.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, not anymore, but at that point in time, it was actually hard to find a Superman t-shirt. I mean, nowadays, not so much, but it was kind of hard to find. I had actually found a Superman t-shirt, and that was my first day wearing it to school. Big Superman fan. And it was a nice warm day outside. So the sub that we had for our French class, we had these big, huge windows at the building where we were for our freshman building for high school. And it was the last period of the day. Windows were open because it was nice and warm outside. And I decided to test out the Superman shirt and see if it added the ability to fly. Mm-hmm. And so I decided it was like right as the bell was about to ring. I think the teacher might have turned around or whatever. And I dove out the window.
It's outstanding.
Now, didn't realize that the window was like 15 feet off the ground. So it was a little bit further than I expected it to be. But then the funniest thing was, at the moment, like I dove out the window, but then I realized, I got to go back in and get my stuff from my locker. So then I had to go back in the building. And the moment I walked into the building, people I didn't even know were like, "Hey, heard what you did."
That's outstanding.
You mean what I did 10 seconds ago? So,
that got around quick.
News travels fast.
I just have that feeling like in Braveheart, where the legend grows, when it shows him like running over the highlands or running over the moors or whatever, and they're playing. It's that real like upbeat kind of Scottish reel. That's kind of how I envision you, flying out the window and then coming back into the school is like the legend grows as people are coming up to you and everything.
I flew out the window and I killed 50 men. And
At least.
And if it was one, and I had bolts of lightning just flying out all over the place too.
And thunder from your
And I was 8 feet tall.
And thunder from down under.
Yeah. Oh, and my lovely wife just texted and wanted to remind me that it was also in the Chicago Tribune many
right.
years later.
I remember hearing it. Yeah.
It was featured. My name was not mentioned, but we read the article because I think they were renovating the building at the time, and they were commenting on the very large windows. And the French teacher was quoted as saying, "I think we even had a student jump out of it one time."
I want a copy of that autographed, John.
You know what? I have a copy somewhere. I will make a copy of my copy and I will autograph it for you.
Oh, I want that.
I'll do it. I'll turn it into a T-shirt for you.
I want that too.
There you go.
I want all of those things. We should put that up in our store.
There we go.
Do we have a store?
We'll figure one out at some point.
Yeah, we'll have a store.
I have the Borg IKEA shirt somewhere, and
yeah.
If we do, I want to start selling. I want to start finding a way to sell like meatball subs, and you can only buy them in packs of 2.
Hey, Utah, give me 2.
Give me 2.
I am upping my T-shirt game. Let me tell you, this summer I am upping. That's.
My T-shirt game needs to be. I think I need to Darwin my T-shirts and do some natural selection.
Okay.
I've got some that have been around for a long time, and I'm like, it might be time to let some of these go and maybe do some new ones.
Okay.
So I do like your Wrath of Khan one. So
this one was a nice one.
That's nice. I used to have one long time ago, and it may have just gotten too old. It was what was it? It was a picture of Chuck Norris holding a cowbell, and it says, Chuck Norris says, "I need more cowbell."
That's awesome.
All those Chuck Norris shirts are great.
Oh yeah. All right. So that was question 1. Question number 2. What is your favorite bomb defusing scene in film or TV?
So many. So many that I was thinking of. I thought of MacGyver with the hockey tickets. I thought of. I'm going to consult my list here, but I don't want to like ruin anybody else's. So my favorite, though, I'm going to say Lethal Weapon 3.
Okay.
When they're arguing at the car at the beginning of the movie-ish, absolutely hysterical. And the reason it's my favorite is it's all about that whole buddy cop Lethal Weapon thing. It's just so good.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my favorite.
Lethal Weapon 3. You're taking Lethal Weapon 3. Good call. I don't know. Because Lethal Weapon 3 was kind of the one that I was kind of heading down the path to. John, you know what? Why don't you, if you've got 1 or 10 or 18, why don't you go ahead? And then I'm going to, I propose a truce to confer.
I do have 1 or 10 or 18, but I am going to narrow it down to 2. So one of these has been my favorite since I was a kid. It's one of my favorite, let's say even like last half hour of a movie. But the whole movie, love the whole movie. I'm going to go with the warhead diffusing scene in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Very nice.
Yes.
That whole end of that movie where you get like all the American troops come in and they're infiltrating the base that has the submarines, and just that whole gunfight with was it Stromberg? The one with Stromberg? Was that the villain? Yeah. And just that whole thing. And I hope I'm remembering this right, is that's the one where they're trying to diffuse the warhead, and they've got to pull the cylinder out of the warhead without touching the sides. It's kind of like an operation kind of deal. And he's pulling out real carefully, and just that whole tension of like that. I remember as a kid, like holding my breath during that scene. And so that would be my number 1. I'm going to give this one, and actually I pulled up some audio because I feel like this one deserves an honorable mention just because of how much fun it is. And normally you don't put that together with bomb diffusing. But this has to be my honorable mention because it's a lot of fun. I'm assuming we know which one this is.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
As soon as the first chords came in, I'm like, that's Batman.
I figured. Yeah. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yes.
All right, Pat, did you have time to confer with yourself?
Yeah. I cheated and
career opportunities, Pat.
Yeah. I cheated and looked up a list, and there was a bunch. You know what? The one that I'd forgotten about that I think is the Abyss. When
solid.
Yeah, and I really like that movie, and I remember we did that. Well, it was a couple of years ago. Man, that just seemed like yesterday. We did the Abyss, and I remember really, really loving that movie on the rewatch and just being. Sorry, I was just going to say blown away with the movie on the rewatch. But yeah, I would say that one was pretty awesome scene, and just the emotional build up to it. And, yeah, I thought that was great. And then he's down there, and then I got to be careful. Spoilers for the Abyss. But the drama of him, using that special suit to get down there, and then, it's a one-way trip. And I mean, it's got all those, it's kind of the emotional climax of the movie where we're not going to make it. They are going to make it. This person's not going to make it. This person that does make it, they fight their way through. And
they did a really good job of making you think he really wasn't going to come back. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah, the stakes were very high in that scene. You felt the stakes were very high in that scene. So yeah, I'm going to stick with that one. I'm looking at this list. There's other cool things listed here, but I think, yeah.
Oh, there's some great ones. You've got like, what do you got? Speed. You've got what else? I feel like there's a lot of really good. What are some of the ones I was thinking of? Like I kind of saw a list earlier too, and I was like, oh yeah, there's that one. There's that one. And yeah, I think the Abyss was on your list. Was on that list too. Oh, The Rock.
The Rock, yeah. Fight Club.
Yeah.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. There's a couple in that one that are really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I personally like the one, it's not technically a bomb diffusion so much, but I like the one where they had to pour the water to get the weights right.
Yep.
There was one more that I was thinking of, and of course, now I can't remember what it is.
Well, while you're going through that, I'm just going to throw something out to The Rock. The Rock I was talking about with my brother the other day. The Rock, I think, is its 25th anniversary.
Wow.
Is it really?
And I'm just going to say, we can discuss it after we cast pod, but just for our listeners, if you want to go down a fun rabbit hole, check out Is The Rock a Bond movie? And my gut, I was talking with my brother, and my gut reaction was like, no, come on. He came back. He's like, well, I didn't think so either. Then I read this fan fiction thing, and he says, I'm convinced. And I was like, starting to throw some argument points out there, and he was like hitting them all. And then he sent me this YouTube link. Anyways, to our viewers out there, if you want to go down a fun little rabbit hole, there's a YouTube video that a guy put together out there, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this is wow. This guy really A, did a lot of research, and B, the movie makers really did a pretty fantastic job too. So anyways, I don't mean to digress too much, but you brought up The Rock, and is The Rock a Bond movie?
I'm gonna have to check that out because it sounds like a fun.
It's a fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
All right. Well, then question number 3. This is lately we've been kind of adding in just like a totally random question that has nothing to do with the movie we've been watching or talking about. So question number 3, what is the scariest dream you've ever had? I know this one right away. So if you gentlemen need a moment,
I have, and God help me, I grew out of this dream. Whatever my deal was back then, I'm in a swimming pool, or no, because it can't be classified as a swimming pool because the water was, for lack of a better term, endless. But it was clear, perfectly blue water, like a swimming pool, right? So, God, I'm in this pool and I can see the edge, one edge, but I can't see the other 3 edges. Like it's an ocean or a lake, but the water is clear, like chlorinated, clear blue water. And then there are sharks swimming at me. But they're not like great white sharks. They're all sorts of weird colors, like fruit snack sharks. But they are coming for me.
Well, that might be even more terrifying.
And I am scrambling to try to get to the edge, and I don't feel like I'm ever getting any closer. And I would finally get to the edge, and the sharks were right behind me, and I would reach up, and that's when I would wake up. Oh, I had it so often when I was a kid. It was bad.
No.
Wow. I've had scary dreams and night terrors and all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of times I wake up and I like start freaking out, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, Tammy has to throw things at my head or whatever and all that kind of stuff. It's funny because I have a number of recurring dreams that'll come up like sometimes it's once a month. Sometimes it's once every couple months. Sometimes it's once. It's like, oh, I haven't had that dream for like a couple of years. And I know I've really got to like wake up and write my dreams down and all that kind of thing. But, you know, I got all sorts of weird ones and it's not necessarily scary, but there's sometimes I'm like in this house that's kind of like, you know, like there's obstacles and I got to get from one end of the house to the other, you know, like, and it's like, it's always the same. And I wake up, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm back in that house again. Or, oh, wow, I'm in this situation. And I've had a couple of them. The one that I think was the craziest, like reoccurring one was, you guys remember Maximum Overdrive?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was Maximum Overdrive. And like, I kept getting, okay, spoiler alert for Maximum Overdrive. 3,
Spoiler alert for Pat's Nightmare.
5. Okay. And like, I kept getting run over by that truck with the face on the front. And it was just like, it was like waiting for me. And it happened like every week I'd have this nightmare and it was, oh my God, it was just scary. And I would be like, I'd be running and this truck would run me down and it would always end up and I'd get it several times at night. And it was one of those, as I was falling asleep, I was falling back into the dream. And then finally I had it every night for a week. Right. And by the last night, I was really angry. I was like, God bless it all. I can't even get a good night's sleep. And I don't even sleep that much to begin with. So, I mean, and that night, I remember it was like a dream, but I could sort of control what I was doing in the dream, or at least I was dreaming I could control what I was doing in the dream. And so there was some chasing and there was all that kind of stuff. But then I like picked up the truck and threw it. And then I never had the dream again. But every once in a while I'll get recurring dreams and it's sort of like a choose your own adventure book. Like I feel like I'm making a decision in the dream, either that, or it's like a choose your own adventure book, but I'm like already guided through the answer. I don't know how to explain that more than that, but I would say the Maximum Overdrive dream was the scariest one because that was like recurring and then it got more and more. And then it was like, I had it every night for a week, but by the end of it, I kind of got sick of it, and then I never had the dream again.
How appropriate that Pat's nightmares are car based,
right? It definitely proves the way his brain works.
Yeah.
Quote unquote works.
Pat's he's figured out a way to get out of that dream. When he feels like he's being incepted, his one way of getting out of that dream is, you ever worked on a German car?
Yeah, right? That's right. That's right.
So Pat, the other movie you need to see at some point then, if you haven't seen it before, is Steven Spielberg's first movie. Have you ever seen Duel?
Oh, love Duel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I have.
No? Oh, it's good.
I have to look that up.
Yeah.
Oh, you should watch it tonight.
Well, I'm not watching much tonight, brother.
Man, I think I'm gonna go watch Duel tonight.
This is Pat's solution to everything. You got to do that tonight. You do it right away.
You got to do that right now.
Do it now.
Oh, wow.
I was going to look and see if it's streaming anywhere. Doesn't look like it. It's from 1971.
Oh, it is so good. Oh, it is so good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I want to say it was a TV movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't actually think it was a theatrical movie, but it was I think it was Steven Spielberg's first movie.
It was Dennis Weaver in that?
Who was in that? Yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember my dad talking about that movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, Patrick. And he told me all about it, but it wasn't a spoiler thing because it hyped it up so much. Like I was getting fired up just having him tell me the story. And I'd be like, well, did they show that? And he'd be like, no, all you see is this. Well, did it? Well, they kind of do this. And then finally I saw it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is better than I expected. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like that's, oh man.
Here's a quick entry from Wikipedia. I guess it did get a theatrical release. Originally aired, so this is from Wikipedia, originally aired as a television film as part of the ABC Movie of the Week series on November 13th, 1971. Duel later received an international theatrical release in an extended version featuring scenes shot after the film's original broadcast. The film was critically acclaimed upon release for Spielberg's direction, and it has since been recognized as an influential cult classic.
Nice.
But yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. Pat, I'm kind of along the same lines as you. I have these, and thankfully I haven't had too many nightmares lately. As a kid, I'd have them all the time. And I don't know if my imagination was so vivid that, I would be terrified. I'd wake up and and sometimes I'd have these dreams where you'd have the dream. It was terrifying. You'd wake up thinking that you were awake, and then all of a sudden you realize you're still in the dream, and have something like that. And it's funny that I saw this question and added this one to our list because I just got done sharing what my scariest dream was with my son just the other day when we were driving home from something a little bit later at night. Because where we were driving actually reminded me of my dream. And I do have to play a little bit of music to give you gentlemen an idea as to where my dream originated from. I know exactly where this dream comes from. And this is the root cause of my scariest dream that I actually have at least once a year. Like I still, even from like age 10 until now, I have this dream about once a year. But this is the root cause of my nightmare. Stupid unsolved mysteries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid unsolved mysteries. So the scariest dream that I have ever had, and I continue to have to this day, actually had it, I think, a couple months ago. And basically, and it's got to be from an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. I have a dream where I am, even when I was a kid, I'm driving down a kind of a very dark road out in the country somewhere, maybe like in the hills somewhere. There's a lot of trees on either side of me, so like there's nowhere else I can go. I can't turn off the road. I can't go anywhere else. And I'm driving along. It is pitch black. There are, other than my headlights, there are no other lights around. It's really dark and late at night. And all of a sudden, as I'm even getting goosebumps while I'm telling you this, all of a sudden, I start to feel the car, all the electricity in the car kind of flickers and dies. And so the car kind of quickly comes to a rolling stop. And in the dream, I start to get goosebumps. Like I can feel goosebumps all over. And the next thing I know, I can't move. Like I'm completely immobilized. I can't move. And there's a light coming down from the sky. And I know that it's aliens and they're coming to abduct me. And sometimes in the dream, and I can't see anything other than this light coming down from the sky. I can't see anything around me. And so all I can feel are like these dark shadows of these aliens moving around my car, and they're coming in to get me. And usually I wake up before they open up the car and pull me out of it. Sometimes not so much, but most times, just as they're starting to open up the car and pull me out, that's when I wake up. But I have had this dream, and it terrifies me every time, even as an adult. I have had this dream probably once a year since I was about like 11 years old. And I completely blame Unsolved Mysteries because I know for a fact there was an alien abduction episode that they did that probably told that exact story. So that's mine. There was another dream I had when I was a kid that all of my toys came to life, and He-Man and G.I. Joe and Optimus Prime held me down while birds started pecking out my insides.
Oh, no.
Oh,
yeah. I
remember
that one when I was a kid, too. That was a little bit more gruesome, not quite so scary, but, you know, it wasn't fun as a kid.
Wow.
No, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. So anyway.
My buddy Kevin, good friend of mine, he had a dream. I wish I had this dream, but Motley Crue came to our school. We got to hang out with Motley Crue for a day.
Right on.
But then halfway through, it just turned into a dream about Tailspin. So that kind of changed it up. But Tailspin's pretty cool, too.
Tailspin the cartoon?
Tailspin the cartoon.
Oh,
Tailspin.
Nice. Yeah.
Tailspin.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I would take that one instead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, now we're going into good dreams, not bad dreams. So that's, you know, kind of went tangential on that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe now that maybe it's cathartic for us. We've shared what our scary dreams are. We're not going to have any tonight. So now we can just kind of go off and we've gotten rid of them. We've spoken them out loud and now they're gone. That's probably not.
I hadn't thought about that one in a while.
Yeah. Oh, great. Now you guys have nightmares tonight and you're going to blame me for it.
Right. But as soon as I read that question, I was like, oh, I know. I know.
I saw that question. I was like, okay, I'll include that one. And I was like, which one is my, I know. I know exactly which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
Complete tangent. And before we go, I did not realize I guess Netflix is doing new seasons of Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay.
Yes. My wife's been watching them.
Okay. Well, your wife might find this interesting. One of the episodes, I guess, episode 6 of season 1, there is a murder that takes place in Cassville, Missouri.
Yep.
That's where all of my family is from.
Oh, no joke.
Yeah.
I will have to tell her that. I believe she has seen all of season 1.
Okay.
So.
It's this little town, at the time we lived there, it was less than 2,000 people, but little town in southwest Missouri, and that is where my entire family is from. My mom and dad, that's where they met in high school. My grandparents all lived there. All of my grandparents lived in that town at one point in time. When they all retired, they went back to that town. One set of grandparents never left that town. So growing up, I have been there many times a year for my entire life. And so I heard that my sister was telling me about it. She's like, yeah, did you know one of the episodes takes place in Cassville? I'm like, oh, wait, what? Are you kidding me? So yeah, we pulled it up the other day and I started watching it and I was like, okay, this is just weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, on that positive note here, I'm going to play this for myself. My middle name is Wesley, so I feel like I can play this. No, that's not the right one. Soundboard, you failed me.
Yeah.
You have failed this city.
There we go. Instead of shut up, Wesley, I just called to say. Hey, I'm looking for, after we shared our nightmares, I'm looking for some positive stuff here. So,
right.
There we go.
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
There we go.
Nice.
Now I'm going to go soothe myself to sleep by singing I Just Called to Say I Love You.
That's good stuff, man.
It's not the only way I'm getting to sleep tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gentlemen, as always, I enjoy talking movies with you guys so much.
Yeah, right back at you. Right back at both you guys. It's such a fun time.
It's always so much fun with you all. In the meantime, there are all kinds of other ways that you can find our show. This was episode number 360, so you could spin around 1 degree every time you listen to one of our episodes, and you would have made a complete circle if you got to this episode. So congratulations. The other ways you can find our show, 30podcast.com is our website, at 30podcast on most of the social medias. Don't forget to check out our sponsor and the rest of the shows in the Scene Stealers Retro Podcast Network by heading over to scenestealersglobal.com. Our next episode's coming up in the month of July. We've got King Ralph, The Commitments, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Hook. Bangarang. Our Patreon episode, really looking forward to that one. I think we're recording that one next week, is the Thrawn trilogy of books from starting in 1991, the Heir to the Empire trilogy by Timothy Zahn. That's going to be a really fun one. And then in August, we've got our Patreon episode is going to be Stripes from 1981. Then we got Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country, and Suburban Commando. Then when we get on into September, our Patreon is My Dinner with Andre from 1981. Then we've got Jungle Fever, White Fang, Dead Again, Frankie and Johnny, and Beauty and the Beast. So we've got lots of good stuff coming up over the next 2 or 3 months or so. If you want to, I've got another podcast I do with the gentleman over at the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. We do a podcast called Podcast Full of Kryptonite, covering Superman, and specifically right now the Superman and Lois TV show from CW. So we have a lot of fun over there. Go check us out. On Twitter, we're at SupermanPFK. So, gentlemen, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Great time.
All right.
As always.
Everybody have good dreams, everybody.
Yeah.
And don't listen to any of what we just said. Have good dreams, be excellent to each other, and go watch some good movies.
We got to put a disclaimer on this one. Do not watch before bedtime.
Yes, do not listen before bedtime. Or if you want to listen during bedtime, you might learn Esperanto. That's not true at all. That's false advertising.
Yes.